and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have a roll call for quorum, please.
Sorry, roll call. Shepherd?
Yes.
Likens?
Yes.
Porfilio? Wold?
Yes.
Oxley?
Yes.
Bellotta?
Yes.
Maloney.
Lodi, sorry.
Okay, we do have a quorum. Next up is a motion to approve the minutes of the April meeting.
So moved. Second.
A motion from Oxley, second from Likens. Any questions or discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Staff, the temple.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Maloney and members of the commission. Ken Joe Gallus, on behalf of Gallus Investments.
Oh, the temple. Let's
Oh, I apologize.
take care of that one
Pardon me.
first.
The GG Temple should have received memo that the item has been tabled to the June 13th PZC meeting.
Yeah, we have the memorandum dated May 2nd. Staff is recommending the final development table to June 13th. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion from Mr. Bellotta, second from Mr. Likens. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now, Gallus Construction.
Thank you. The applicant, Joe Gallus, on behalf of Gallus Investments, LLC, is seeking approval of a special use permit to allow unique use for a contractor shop with outdoor storage of equipment within the R1 zoning district. The property is generally located at the southwest corner of Davies Avenue and Francis Street in the Fairfield addition to Lockport subdivision. The subject property consists of 5 separate parcels that are to be used in conjunction for a single use. The parcels are zoned R1, surrounded by R1, and located within a residential neighborhood. There are 3 existing industrial buildings on the property: a metal pole building, a concrete frame building, and a block building. According to the applicant, the required restrooms are located in the block building that was originally located on a neighboring property. This was addressed with a recorded easement that is attached to your packet. The existing industrial buildings are found on a historic aerial map dating as far back as 1974. No building permits were found on file for these structures. In 2003, a unique use permit for a landscape maintenance and snow plowing business was approved with conditions by the city. This special use permit is void as the use has ceased for a period of more than 1 year. By today's standards, neither the industrial buildings nor the use would be permitted within the residential neighborhood. Per city's code, a contractor's shop is expressly prohibited within the R1 zoning district. The applicant desires to operate a contractor shop with outdoor storage. Gallus Construction, Inc. has 10 employees during off-season and up to 30 employees during peak season. The average hours of operation are Monday through Saturday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. During snowfall season, operation may be in effect 24 hours daily. No new development is proposed. However, the applicant will be required to adhere to any new and/or previous conditions that were established through the prior special use, such as any pending repairs and the paving of the storage lot. Findings of fact. The proposed building or use at the particular location requested is necessary or desirable to provide a service or facility. Staff answers this question with, although the area is a transitional area that is located within close proximity to the city's sewer treatment plant, it is a residential neighborhood. Staff recognizes that the property is zoned R1 and that no residences exist on these lots, rather industrial buildings. However, as long as families continue inhabiting the neighboring homes, the proposed contractor shop with outdoor storage of equipment is neither desirable nor in the interest of the public. A contractor shop is a more intense use that is considered to be conflicting to residential use. Should the request be granted, the special use permit should be conditioned to minimize future conflicts. Second question. The proposed building or use will not have a substantial adverse effect upon the adjacent property, the character of the neighborhood, traffic conditions, utility facilities, and other matters affecting public health. A contractor shop with outdoor storage of equipment could adversely impact the character of the neighborhood and traffic conditions. Access is provided via non-designated truck route. Local roads were not intended to sustain industrial use with vehicles weighing more than 16,000 pounds. And the third question, the proposed building or use will be designed, arranged, and operated so as to permit the development and use of neighboring property in accordance with the applicable district regulations. The contractor shop should be operated in a manner that will not negatively impact the enjoyment or use of neighboring properties. Activities that create noise, odors, dust, and vibrations should occur within the enclosed buildings and between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. This will be a condition of approval. Additional standards and criteria for a unique use should be answered by the petitioner. Staff will defer to the applicant to provide explanation for two questions. One, proof of special and extraordinary need for unique use, which shall include proof of unique characteristics of the subject property, proposed use, and/or the neighborhood surrounding the subject property. And two, proof that the unique use will be of some affirmative benefit from a land use and economic standpoint to the surrounding properties and neighborhood. Regarding the street access to the subject property is from non-designated local roads, which is not a truck route. The ordinance includes language stating that all non-designated routes located west of Farrell Road to the city limits are subject to a gross vehicle weight of 8 tons, 16,000 pounds. Based on a list of equipment that was provided by the applicant, vehicles that are associated with the proposed business have the capacity to exceed the gross vehicle weight limit. According to information that I received today from Deputy Chief Hupp, he expressed that the vehicle that is associated that has the H plates shall be parked within the enclosed building due to the residential zoning, and other trucks within the list that should also be provided in your packet are identified with D plates. The D plates are allowed to be parked outdoors. Deputy Chief also stated that only the storage of vehicles should occur on this property. The loading and unloading of vehicles should occur off-premise. Also, the property is located within 1 mile of a truck route. As long as a driver who may be over the weight limit uses Division Street, a weight limit ticket will not be issued. However, if a driver chooses to use Canal Street, then should he be over the limit, he would be subject to a weight-related ticket. Additional conditions can be added to the approval to address this issue. Parking. A total of 39 parking spaces are provided, which exceeds the required 30 spaces, 1 per employee. Parking spaces are required to be paved and striped. The outdoor storage area, the gravel outdoor storage area is approximately 11,000 square feet and will be required to be paved. This was a condition of the approval of the prior special use permit and has never been completed. This will be a condition of approval of this special use. The storage area is required to be screened with a solid 8-foot-high solid wood fence per the prior special use permit. There is an existing 8-foot solid wood fence along the north and south sides that is in poor condition. According to the applicant, the fence will be removed and replaced with a new 8-foot solid wood fence. The entrance to the storage area is screened by an 8-foot-high chain link gate with slats. The existing slats are in poor repair. The applicant has agreed to replace the slats. This will be a condition of approval. Landscaping beds exist along the east and south sides of the buildings and within a landscape buffer. All landscape material shall be in good condition with new mulch and existing planting beds. This will also be a condition of approval. Signage and lighting are not part of this review. Recommended motion, should the commission find the special use permit for a unique use contractor shop with outdoor storage of equipment acceptable, the following motion is recommended. A motion to approve a special use for a unique use contractor shop with outdoor storage of equipment with the following conditions. Number 1, the following improvements shall be completed within 6 months from the date of passage of the special use permit. A, the existing drives are to be resurfaced. B, the existing parking lot shall be resurfaced and striped as shown on the platted survey site plan. C, the existing slats of the chain link fence on Francis Street shall be removed and replaced. All landscaping materials located within the existing foundation landscaping beds that are in poor condition, dead, or do not meet the minimum 24-inch height requirement shall be replaced with minimum 24-inch high plants and shall be maintained in good condition to include appropriate mulch, natural brown color, not dyed. E, the arborvitae evergreens that are in poor condition or dead within the existing landscape buffer between the residence to the west and the solid wood fence shall be replaced with similar trees and shall be maintained in good condition to include appropriate mulch. F, the prior special use permit required any damaged areas on the building and windows to be repaired. The building shall be in good repair and maintained in good condition. 2, the following improvements shall be completed within 1 year from the date of passage of this special use permit. A, the gravel outdoor storage area shall be paved with asphalt or concrete. This was a condition of the prior special use permit. B, the existing fence located around the outdoor storage area is inconsistent in fence height with some sections being in poor repair. An 8-foot high fence is a condition of the prior special use permit. The fence shall be located around the outdoor storage area, replaced with a solid wood fence 8 feet in height and maintained in good condition. Number 3, all parking in conjunction with the business shall occur on site and not on Francis Street or Davies Avenue. Number 4, activities that create noise, dust, odors, or vibrations shall take place within the enclosed buildings and should occur only between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Number 5, a sign permit is required for all signage, which is subject to the city's review and shall be in compliance with the city's sign code. Signage shall not be illuminated. Number 6, any new outdoor lighting or building-mounted lighting will require a photometric plan and is subject to review and approval by the city. Staff recommends adding a 7th condition stating that an H-plated vehicle shall be parked within an enclosed building, and potentially an 8th condition stating that the loading and unloading shall not occur on premise. This concludes staff's analysis.
Thank you, Kimberly. Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to speak in this particular case?
Hello, my name is Mark Porres. I'm at 112 Francis. I know the landscaping company is gone, but as you brought up, our biggest concern with our street was them tying up the entire street all morning when we were trying to get out and go to work, and all night when we were trying to come home after work. It was supposed to have been understood that before 7 o'clock there was to be no noise. After 7:30 there was to be no noise. Both of those were violated almost daily. And during the winter, it was every single day if there was snow. Our concern is our street is our street. It's not to be a commercial vehicle street. The landscaping company was doing that on a daily basis. I don't know how a construction company is going to work, but I do know that, like everybody else, they have to start work at 7 o'clock in the morning. So if that means they're going to be out there at 6 o'clock running their trucks, moving their excavators, their backhoes, their generators, whatever they're going to be using on a daily job, we do not want that interfering with our way of life. And if you're going to have them blacktop that storage yard that they have that is gravel right now, my house gets so much flooding from the street having been resurfaced that if you raise that parking lot to be level with the street, I will never be able to keep the water out of my basement. The street was repaved but never graded, so you raised the street 4 inches from what it originally was, which now all that water goes right to my house. There's no drainage on either side of the street. There's no diversion from 110 to 112 where I'm at. It's got a crown in the street and everything comes to my house. I have no problem with a contractor. I know them, not personally, but I know of them from work that has being done and with one of their people that used to work with them. I understand they have a business to run, but I have a residency that I need to maintain. I do everything I can to keep it up. I put new roof on it. I put new downspouts on it from the storms that we had. Trying to work on a fence that was destroyed in the last storm. So if we can keep the noise down to the times that it needs to be, and if we can keep our street open, that's all we want to have. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, all of us up here are residents and homeowners, and we very much appreciate your concerns. I would be too if I lived over there. Is there anyone else here that cares to speak in this particular matter?
Hello, I'm Tammy Milton. I live at 110 Francis Street. Pretty much, that place is an eyesore right now. Anytime you drive by it, I mean, it's just, it looks like it's falling apart. So I think any improvement actually to it would be something to benefit the neighborhood, because it could bring up our house values too if we don't have an abandoned condemned building pretty much. So, and as far, we live right next door. This year we did get flooding in the basement because of March was extremely rainy. There's nowhere for water to go, but generally in the past, we don't get flooding really. We might get minimal seepage, but it's all limestone foundations and it's just part of the older houses. So just as long, yeah, as the noise is down. There's 2 entrances. It's like a curved street, so you would have a way out. So, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Is there anyone else here that wants to address this particular case? Seeing and hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Mr. Gallus, you can come up and respond to their concerns.
I understand that I'm Joe Gallus. I live at 1011 McGregor Road in Lockport here. I understand your concerns. I've done a lot of work down in your neighborhood, and I saw all the time Drew's Landscaping. They had trailers up and down the street every morning loading up their lawnmowers and everything else. That's not the kind of business we do. We're very, very rarely even at our shop. We're just there basically, it's more of a storage than anything. There won't be any loading in the mornings or any of that kind of stuff like I saw with Drew's. Drew's had trucks a block away in the grass making ruts and everything else. And as far as the drainage, you're right. I mean, the front of that building right now, my building gets 4 inches of water in the front yard because they've raised the road up so high, there's nowhere for it to go. I plan on doing drainage on my side all the way around to divert the water back farther. Hopefully I can get with Ken.
Flooding is the reason I didn't buy that building.
Well, see, there you go. But I got the means, being a construction guy, I got the means to fix it, and I will, you know. So that's the deal with that. As far as the weight limit, which seems to be a concern with the roads, every vehicle I own is 7 tons or less. The one dump truck I have, it has the capacity to hold 26,000 pounds. That's the maximum. It'll never be loaded when it's at my shop or leaving my shop. I use it on site, we load it, we dump stuff, and that's it. But besides that, it's only 14,000 pounds, it's only 7 tons. I'm very familiar with the laws of the road, and, I mean, we're not gonna violate any of that. There's multiple vehicles in that area right now. There's already Passion Sons Construction across the street. There's Legacy Paintball Park, there's Bill's Excavation, there's Canal Auto Salvage, there's the Hell's Gate, there's the Public Works. I mean, there's trucks 80,000 pounds driving down there all day long right now. That's not gonna be me. I pretty much agree with staff's conditional recommendation, and I'm just pretty much here to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Shepherd, any questions or concerns for Mr. Gallus?
I agree with the drainage part. I've seen a couple parts in the city where the streets haven't been graded, they've just been repaved, and that's in my own neighborhood where we have problems with that, and that's, drainage is, I understand the drainage part, and that's a big concern. And I was down there and I saw just in your property, there's a lot of water sitting in that front yard there. So when he talked about drainage, I understand that, and I think that's a real concern. How would you address, because they said about noise before 8 o'clock, what would you say about that? Because that was also a concern that was in here.
Well, the noise that we create is nothing more than just a truck driving by your house, because we pull in, we go inside our shop, or we pull a truck inside the shop and grab just hand tools and whatnot, put it in there. But all of our trucks right now, they're loaded with tools, so we don't generally go to the shop for like in the morning. The landscapers, every morning they go there with trailers, and they'd fire up lawnmowers, and they drive past their house, I'm sure, every morning, drive up on trailers, get them loaded and pull out. They were too big for that space even down there. Sometimes I'd see 6 or 7 trailers in a row, like, that's not us.
Are you mainly a storage facility there, or do you do any work on the premises outside the building or in the building, or is it just a storage facility?
More of a storage facility. The front area is gonna be an office for our offices. I've got 2 secretaries and myself, and it's more a storage facility than anything. Other than that, we have, we'll just pull our trucks in and tinker if something's messed up on them, but inside the building. I have no problems keeping the dump truck inside. There's plenty of room.
Is that your only facility that you have for your construction equipment?
I own a 33,000 square foot building on 3357 South State Street,
Okay,
and that's where I currently am now.
okay.
And we're gonna move out of that because that's a rental property of mine, and it's getting to be fully rented, so I wanna be in the city limits. I do a ton of work in Lockport. I own more property on 1200 South State Street. I own another lot on 1122 South State Street. You know, we're in Lockport all the time. I've done 50 commercial jobs in Lockport around. I don't know if you've seen us, but I just wanna be in the city limits, you know? That's where we work, so.
Okay. That's all I have for right now.
Mr. Likens?
My primary concern was what the opinion of the neighbors would be to this, I guess, improvement to the existing buildings. And I appreciate the neighbors coming here to present their opinions and views on this. It's the most valuable part to me. The young lady mentioned that she felt that making improvements to this would help the neighborhood. As I viewed that building, it did appear to be beginning to be run down. And if it's vacant, then it's an invitation for trouble. And so the other concern I have is, typically construction companies start their work early in the morning, 6:30 to 7:30. The concern from, I think it was Mark, is the noise that occurs during that time when he may want to sleep till 8 o'clock and enjoy if he's working a late shift or something. So,
There's little Saturdays this weekend.
so Sure in that one. my concern is that Joe honors and respects the neighbors
Yeah.
relative to that time in the morning, so that you're not getting woken up. And from what Joe has said and what I know from Joe and his reputation, I understand he's a man of his word. I would expect that he lives up to this agreement that the commission has presented. The only other comments I have is, let's see, pretty much answered what I've got. If there's any other lighting that goes in. I think it's important, I mean, if you're gonna light that yard to the west, that it is directed down into the lot and not polluting the backyards of, or side yards of the other neighbors.
Code for that, well, I don't know if it's code, but I know they're gonna ask for a photometric when, if I decide to put lighting, which I probably will, but they're gonna want 0 candle power at the lot line, so that it won't be a hindrance on any neighbor's yards at all, which I'm fine with that.
Okay. Otherwise, I don't have any other comments other than, you know, where that storage lot is paved. Mark, you said you live on May Street? Is it? Or you live on Francis? On the other side?
Directly across the street.
Just to the west of his gate on the south side of the street.
Okay. I mean, when it's, if it's asphalted, obviously that's
Yeah, more runoff.
non-porous, and you know, with the flooding, I'm wondering, is there some compromise where what occurs in that lot is more porous so that not as much goes out onto the street and allows a little bit to percolate down? And I'm, you know, not the city engineer, but,
I mean, ultimately, I'd like to just bring in new stone and regrade it and keep it lower and grade it away and not pave it, but I mean, if it's a condition, I'll do it.
we don't
But I
have
mean-
sewer systems down there. We don't have septic sewer.
I don't think so. That's a pretty low area down there.
I didn't think there was. I didn't see any.
No, there's
So-
nothing.
You know, that's where percolation, you know, I defer to the city engineer, but if that helps alleviate flooding in your property and your property, it's fine with me. If it's gravel, it's,
Well, if you would, percolation in our area is almost non-existent. Because the
Yeah.
maximum we have is 24 inches of soil. There's solid limestone down there.
Yeah, bedrock is very high.
Yeah, it's right on bedrock.
And crown it, there's nowhere for the water to go once it rains more than an hour.
Yeah, you can go down there a week after it's rained and there's still standing water in their neighbor's yard next to it. It's crazy.
well, and that's where, you know, asphalt is pretty much impervious. Gravel is, I would say, relative to percolation, better than the asphalt, but again, I defer to city engineer if that's acceptable. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Wold?
A lot of my questions you've already answered. You were saying that you're not going to be moving machinery in and out every day, all morning
No.
long, or anything like
No.
that. And I'm glad that you say that you're willing to abide by the conditions that the city has recommended for the motion. But I think it is important that we do look at the flooding down there. Because I drove the neighborhood this morning to see, you know, what exactly was going, and it does look like there could be, if you pave that whole parking lot, it could be a big wave right into their driveway and their house.
If I paved it all the way out, yeah. What we would have to do is I'd probably have to get together with Ken Hamilton, he lives right to the west of the property, and figure out some sort of drainage through his yard, and then it would drain to the water treatment plant. And I've done work for him before, so I don't think it'd be a problem.
Okay, as long as you're willing to work with, you know, the neighbors on that
Oh,
side of the
absolutely.
street, so that, you know, you're not just sending
Right, no,
lots of water their way.
right, no. And I've got the means to do it, so I mean, I have no problem with that.
Okay. That's it for me.
Mr. Roxley?
I have several questions and comments. Number one, the neighbors are here, and that's good to hear, because we need to hear your comments, and that's a part of our decision at all times.
Well, we would make it tomorrow, but we're never really notified when they're being held. Because we don't sit on the website all day long.
I sent you a letter.
What the city's planning on doing and when it's doing it. If we hadn't gotten a letter, we wouldn't know this was repeated today.
Well,
Understand?
sending out the letters is a requirement, and putting the signage on the property is also a requirement.
Kimberly, and one other thing, Joe, this has been bounced around. How many of your employees work from the shop each day? I mean, we've done work for your company, and most of them are out of town most of the time, is that correct?
Out of an 8-hour day, I'm probably at the shop 4 of them, and I have a secretary that works 8 hours a week out of there, and besides that, my guys are there less than an hour a day, if that, not even.
Okay.
And most of them go straight to the job in the morning and, straight home. They don't,
And they're in your trucks, not their cars, and come to the shop, pick up?
oh no, they take my trucks home every night.
Okay. Now, Kimberly, in your report, you had the engineer's comments, see attached. I didn't see that in my packet.
There was comment that, that did come from the city engineer via email. I can forward that to you, but essentially what I can express to you verbally what it stated. It just basically stated, should the use be heavier than the limited, the 8-ton requirement on the local roads. If it were to be regular use, then the city engineer would have concern. It's a very basic comment.
Okay. I was wondering what the comment was. The fire district comments the same way. There was comments not in our packet for fire district.
Fire district, I have a certificate of occupancy from them already for the building, so I've done everything that they've asked.
Okay.
I got a permit for that work and completed it
No.
already, and I have a certificate of occupancy from them. So the fire district's good with me.
Kimberly, you mentioned there, no heavy trucks on Canal Road. Was that in your review?
Can you repeat that question? I'm sorry.
You mentioned something about no heavy trucks on Canal Road, the engineer commented?
Yes. So basically, should you have a vehicle that is over the limit, the chief deputy explained to me that if a driver is within 1 mile of a designated truck route, they're not going to be subject to, penalty. So if you're within 1 mile and you're going to the most direct route to get to the designated truck route, that's allowed. Now, if you're taking a secondary route, that's not the most direct route to the designated truck route, then should you be over the limit, you are subject to a weight penalty.
Well,
Is that-
okay, and along those lines, and of course, this is a whole, not actually to do with this. Division Street is not posted for weight limits. Canal Road does not have a weight limit sign on it. I drove it yesterday and last week. There's no weight limit signs on any one of those roads. So, and of course, you don't know the answer to this question, or remain. How can the city engineer and the deputy chief come up with this when there's no weight limit signs on these roads?
The reason he mentioned division was because 171 is designated, and division is the most direct route to 171.
Sure.
In lieu of Canal Street. Canal would be taking the long way to the designated truck route.
What you're saying is a heavier truck at 9th Street needs to come down State Street to Division and not come down Canal,
Correct, the most direct route to
which is,
171.
Well, and this is just, it's not to do with this, I'm just saying, there's no weight limit signs posted on these roads. So, I get a little confused because if there's not a posted sign, they can't give you a ticket for having a heavy truck on it.
Okay.
I'm just,
yeah, I mean, that's something staff needs to consider.
and
Tom, do you
mentioned-
concur?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I do concur, and I think the issue is usually if there's an extraordinary amount of truck traffic, then you'll see signs get posted, so there can be enforcement from the police department. I think in this particular situation, it was the one business and maybe a couple other businesses in that area that used it, so there wasn't a lot of usage. So I don't know, again, I'm only guessing, but I'm guessing that the police department and the engineering division didn't think it was necessary to post the weight limit signs.
Okay.
But I agree with Commissioner Oxley that if you don't post it, it's hard to write a ticket and enforce it.
I mean, trailer trucks coming and going from Briff Brothers use Canal Road,
Yeah, you are authorized to deviate from a truck route if you're going directly to a point of destination, going to and from. So it's not that heavier trucks are completely banned from these side streets, it's just that they're not a designated truck route.
I think the point that was being made by the engineering staff was if there's going to be an increase in truck traffic, then the engineering staff would like to take a look at it a little closer to see size of the trucks, the weight of the trucks. But I think we heard Mr. Gallus say that he's not anticipating increasing
Right.
the level of usage. And I don't think he's got any tractor-trailer trucks that he drives or has his people drive. So we're probably looking at a use that's been fairly consistent with what was there before.
And this property becomes a point of destination. So I really don't think we've got a concern with weight limits and usage.
Other than that, I've seen some of the projects that Mr. Gallus has done. He did a great job with the shop on South State Street, cleaning it up, landscaping, paving, and everything. I think he'd do a nice job here and be a good neighbor to the neighbors. Obviously, the former resident wasn't a good neighbor to the neighbors, and that's another issue, but I'm good with it.
Mr. Bellotta?
Are you're buying it, or you already bought the building?
I close at the end of the week.
It sounds like this use, a use of some fashion like this is, I don't know if I call it intrusive, but use in that residential area has been there since at least 1974, is that what we're thinking? Is that what it was, somewhere in there? That building's been there for a long time.
Prior to
Before that even.
1974.
So I think, comes down, it sounds like from the neighbors, you don't seem to be opposed to it as long as they're respectful to your being neighbors, right? Is that correct, ma'am? Okay. Okay. And it sounds like Joe's willing to put the effort into it. I like the fact that you're gonna own it, you're gonna take pride into it. You're a local businessman, you've been around for a long time, and local homeowner, and my biggest concern, like the board, is how's it affecting the neighbors? When I drove and checked it out this morning, I agree, having somebody in there fixing it up will probably be a nice thing, and having respect for the neighbors, be a good neighbor, I think is a good thing. And then it's up to, if there's an issue and there's not, you talk to your neighbor or call code enforcement, then I think some of it falls on the city to enforce that. I have one question, and I don't know, looking at the plat, I noticed your one corner dives into Francis and Davy Corner.
It doesn't die into it. The entire road is on my property.
Is on your property.
The entire road.
Tom, I don't know if this is something that, would you be opposed if it was a condition to maybe give us a right-of-way to that to allow the city to continue to do what they do?
I wouldn't be opposed to something like that, but I'd like the city to help address some of the drainage, because I truly feel the city created a lot of the problem down there by just adding inches of asphalt. Yeah, it's smoother, but now there's water. You guys agree? I mean, it's, I would have no problem with that. I mean, obviously, the road's gonna be there. It's not gonna affect me, but I'd like the city maybe to help with some of the drainage or something of the sort,
Maybe that's something for some conversations with staff and legal that says, hey, maybe a culvert could be put in there or something like that in exchange for the granting of the right-of-way or something.
Right, culvert over to the canal or maybe something, I don't know. I mean, it's bad.
Well, I think if all parties are,
And slope it towards Davies, or Prairie right there, the water would go straight down to the sewer that's the end of the street, right into the treatment plant. Because right now, like I said, we're at a crown. So if you get rid of that crown between 1210 and Bates at 110, if you get rid of that crown and just bring everything down to Prairie, the water would be eliminated out of everybody's property.
maybe there's some more conversation that could happen with the engineer. I think it sounds like
Absolutely.
it doesn't sound like it's a crazy solution, especially with Joe willing to help and use your equipment and use your resources to make that happen. So,
Absolutely.
appreciate that. That's great. Thank you guys for attending, neighbors, Mark, and everybody. It's important, so thank you.
No, I have no particular objections to anything that's proposed here. Kimberly, one of your requirements there, 2A, was that the gravel outdoor storage lot should be paved with asphalt or concrete. It's pretty obvious that doing so is going to aggravate the flooding condition because having gravel or rock there will absorb some water where the asphalt or concrete is going to increase the flooding concerns because the water's got nowhere to go. And you say it was a condition of the prior special use permit. Obviously, that never happened with the previous occupant, but then the previous occupant pretty much disregarded everything else he was supposed to do, too. But, and the thing is, bedrock is only 2 feet down, and I was thinking, well, you could put a French drain under the parking lot, but when bedrock is only 2 feet down, that really isn't, you need to go about 8 feet down with the French drain. And I agree that the problem is bigger than this property. The whole area down there, the city engineers need to address drainage to get the water to flow to the treatment plant or into the I&M canal or have somewhere to go, because right now it doesn't have anywhere to go, and paving this property is just going to make it worse. I would like to see that requirement stricken, but in the interest of minimizing the flooding problem.
I would too. Not only because of that, but it also, it's very costly, obviously, to pave that.
So for a recommended motion,
Wait, one quick question. It's referred to the, I'm sorry to interrupt, it's referred to the notification. Everybody receives the certified letters as required, right, within verified.
within 250 feet of the subject property.
Okay, so basically all the surrounding, pretty much probably that whole block got notification. Everybody was notified.
26 people.
Okay.
Main Street.
26 people got
26.
notification.
Only 2 showed up, that's good. And that one of the comment, the 8 AM staff recommended versus, is that, you okay with that?
What do you mean?
Hey,
So,
what-
go ahead.
I think we should change that to 7. It's the same as our work ordinance. You can't start work before 7, so there's no confusion as to, our work ordinance says 7 AM, start work on a job site. So if it's the same, then there's never any confusion with, oh, that's 8, this is 7, this is 9, this is 6. I mean, it just,
What do you, neighbors, is that something that, if it's a good neighbor, they'll probably be cordial with it?
He says he doesn't load in and out like a landscaper.
Right.
So if they're just pulling their trucks around just to maybe pick up equipment of, tools or whatever, that's not gonna bother us. If it was lined up down the street,
Lawnmowers and
blocked
skid steers being part of the
Yeah.
That'd be a problem.
people sitting out front of your house,
that's an issue, yeah. Not loading semis or gravel and stuff of that nature.
86 450s and 550s sitting on the street idling, throwing diesel fume all over us for an hour before they decide to leave.
Typically, at the beginning of the workday, the employee shows up in his personal vehicle, parks it, gets in the company truck, starts it up, and goes to the work site.
Mine don't even do that. Mine take the work
A lot
trucks
of them
home.
take it even home, so it's not even there,
Very rare.
yeah. And so there's,
So we should change Article 4 to 7 AM to 6 PM.
That'd be my recommendation. Sounds like neighbors are okay with it. It comes down to respectful neighbors, right? Respect one another, and there should be no
Bottom
issues.
line is, we expect you to be a good neighbor here, Joe, to these people. They seem like good people, good neighbors, that's all they're asking.
Because even if he was just to put gravel in the parking lot, the gravel is fine. The problem we had was they were using landscaping mulch, and they were dragging all of that onto the street, and then we're sitting there with all these dirty roads until the next rain comes out, because they didn't even bother to clean the road when they messed it up.
no, that's not going to be happening.
It's like gravel would be fine. I mean, it helps him with his water on his property, and it pretty much cuts down on what would be coming our way out of his property.
Even with, sticking with the gravel, you can regrade it and contour it to minimize the water flowing in their direction. Seems to me the board is supportive of approval on this. Anybody care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the special use permit for unique contractor shop with the conditions as recommended by staff with a couple changes. Number 4, the hours of operation between 7 AM and 6 PM instead of 8 AM and 6 PM. Number 2A, I don't know if we could do this and leave it kind of open-ended where if we look at the flooding, maybe that's something, instead of just like, hey, we're gonna pave it, which, I mean, paving would be great and nice, but is it gonna make the flooding worse? I don't know if that's possible. I think to look at that whole flooding issue and as it relates to the porous or pervious and non-pervious soils, I agree with you, Scott. So can we leave that somewhat open-ended that staff could look at and engineers? Does that make sense to everybody? And then adding a 7th condition, your H-plated parking, or parking your H-plated vehicle inside, you okay with that, right?
Absolutely. Keep it
Number-
inside anyway.
Number 8, loading and unloading of vehicles, that's unloading of stock in them, is that what you mean, like? Putting materials, so gravel in the back of a dump truck, okay?
Well, here,
Bulk materials, I'm guessing.
Okay, so you're okay with that condition?
Yeah.
Okay. That has to be done off-site. And then number 9, I had it as dedicated road, but I think that should be a separate conversation with the city and the staff. I don't think we want to put that in conditions, all right? Okay, so those 8, as a couple of them are amended, would be my motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Blutta, second from Mr. Oxley to approve with the variations and the conditions stated. Any further discussion on the motion?
My only question is, do we have your promise that you will look at the flooding issue with the city and everything else, and then
Oh, absolutely, I got
whatever is
yeah.
going to be decided between the neighbors and everybody else that's involved?
You know, that's really two-sided here on top of everything, because I was down there last week and looked at it, and it's flooded. But if the city engineer has no comment, did the city engineer go down there when this was flooded and see this? And we've had a change in engineers, so, I mean, are they familiar with the property, or just, you know?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I think the new Director of Public Works probably looked at it from the roadway perspective and not the flooding perspective. It's something that we'll do between now and when this goes to the city council and work with Mr. Gallus on seeing if there's some solutions as far as the flooding problem that the neighborhood has. It sounds like it's been a long-standing problem. This isn't anything new,
Right.
Especially with the shallow depth of the topsoil. So we'll do what we can and get the engineer a little bit more engaged in this and see if we can get a recommendation.
Thank you, Tom.
The bedrock is only 2 feet down over there, so even if it was all soil, there isn't anywhere much for it to go, yeah. Any other discussion on the motion? A roll call vote, please.
Shepherd?
Yes.
Likens?
Yes.
Filio's out. Wold?
Yes.
Oxley?
Yes.
And Bellato?
Yes.
Maloney, I get to vote yes.
You get to vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
I know the mayor doesn't vote, but I do.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to skip you.
Okay.
Don't remind me of that.
Motion carries 6-0. This goes to the committee of the whole. Which date?
I believe June,
It would be June 7th.
thank you.
Okay, we're in improvement, so we're advisory to the city council, obviously, so the city council next month makes the final decision on this. The minutes of our meeting should be in their package, so hopefully they'll take it under consideration. Thank you, Joe.
Mr. Chairman, just so the 3 residents who are close by know that there's not another notice that's sent out of the June 7th meeting. So this would be their notice to you that if you'd like to attend the city council meeting, same place, 7 o'clock, June 7th.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any citizens to be heard on any other matters at all? Anything else from staff?
Nothing else.
Okay, you have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion from Oxley, second from Likens, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries, thank you.